Good morning. Welcome back to another Stock Market Open live stream. A quick heads up on ehack.com and on the main channel, Meet Kevin. I have posted a full update on Nick T's latest piece. Really good video and really worth understanding. So if you haven't really understood how the Federal Reserve can keep rates at a steady level and actually increase tightness in the economy, if you haven't fully understood that yet, and you want to know why the Fed potentially sees things going south quickly, make sure to watch that video. In the meantime, instead over here, we'll look at what's going on in terms of what to expect this week. We've got some disaster in Iran to deal with. We've got the FOMC meeting this week, which is bound to be very interesting. This is the not expected rate cut meeting. So what we are looking for is some kind of teeing up of the potential of rate cuts and maybe some clues as to when those rate cuts may arrive. The next Fed meeting is Wednesday. It is a non-SEP meeting, which means we're not going to get any kind of projections from the Fed. But again, we are going to be looking for insight into, hey, what is this all going to mean in terms of when y'all actually going to cut rates? This is the meeting where, given that markets right now are 50-50, I think the Fed is going to nudge us in the direction of what they desire to do. Remember, you've got the Bank Term Funding Program, which ends March 11th, and the March Fed meeting will be about 9 days after that. So before I heard that they were terminating the program, I thought we were maybe at a 40% chance of a March cut, mostly because GDP data has come on pretty strong, and why not take an extra month or two, probably closer to May, to start cutting, so too. But after I heard that the Fed Bank Term Funding Program is indeed coming to an end March 11th, my opinion of March rate cuts actually flipped from about 40% to about 70%, because I believe that the Fed doesn't want banks to have to rely on the Fed again for a second banking crisis. The easiest way to do that, signal rate cuts or cut rates in March, and then you have some softening in the bond market in terms of yields, which would lead bond assets to rise in value, which softens pressure on banks. So that would be another tool that's sort of using the market to soften pressure on banks. I believe the Fed's going to take that option. We'll see, though. So in the meantime, we've got Bitcoin back at 42,000. The last time we were chatting, this number was at about 39.5. So we've done a good job here coming back to what is now serving as a resistance line for Bitcoin. That's our 42,000 line. Got Coinbase still sitting at 125. NASDAQ up 0.22 on a Nasdaq Doodles. You've got Intel sitting down at about 43.89, down about $10 from some of its recent highs. Tesla now sitting at about 185 in pre-market, up about 1%. We did not get to that 178 support level, which is actually good that we did not have to test that yet. It's between 175, 178. I give a little bit of a band there because some people set their lines slightly differently than I do, but I see it between, the low over here, 178.2 and 175 here. Now, I personally, after earnings, I played a straddle on this. And I said, look, I should be profitable on the straddle if we end up with more than a 6% move in the stock. Well, we got like a 13% move on the stock, and I picked up a quick little, what was it? I think I played 24,000 on the trade, and it ended up about $8,600. That's because the call basically went worthless, but the put skyrocketed. That's the nature of a straddle, right? And we also went in seeing that volatility was exceptionally low. So when I see things like that, I like to post about them in the stock market or the Stocks and Psychology of Money course in the trade alerts. Whether or not I trade, my goal is to post alerts when I see weird things like super low volatility or whatever it might be. And Tesla was exceptionally low in volatility, so it made buying options much more desirable than selling them. Whereas now volatility is quite high after the event. That's, again, the part that you pick up profit from. Remember, you can buy low, sell high, not just in price, but also in volatility. A lot of folks forget that. Another play that has relatively low volatility right now that I'm not doing a vol play on this, though I'm really tempted to do a volatility play on this, is quite frankly Costco. I'm just straight short on this, but the volatility is pretty low right now. So it's one that I'm watching. It was exceptionally low on January 18th. It did tick up a little bit through January 25, into last week, but it's rotating down again already this morning, so we'll see what direction that goes. But that might be another interesting one to watch as a vol play. But then again, you'd really have to set something up for going into earnings to actually expect some kind of vol movement here, I think. Anyway, here's NVIDIA for you. After we got that 490 breakout, not a surprise, we've got this delicious skyrocketing. Let's take a peek at SoFi. You've got SoFi up 16%, up at 880 this morning. Now, this has been a pretty volatile one, but 880 is a resistance level for SoFi. It's a level we've been to before. We were just at $10 not that long ago. We were just at $10 at the beginning of the year. We've been at $10 in July. We've been at $10 in June. I met Kathy Wood for lunch yesterday. Well, it was brunch. Brunch with Kathy Wood yesterday, and she is getting ready to she's already been talking about it, but it's just not like a huge secret, but she's got a partnership with SoFi coming up for her, what's it called, for her venture capital fund. So, but this was pretty cool. That was yesterday. Yesterday was a really cool birthday because I had a brunch with Kathy Wood in Florida and then dinner with Lauren in California, and I felt like I had a 27-hour birthday, which was kind of cool. But anyway, let's see here. I don't think we have data. We do have iRobot coming in with data here. But if I look at the eco, no, we don't have data today. But instead we have iRobot, which is looking at a non-GAAP operating loss of $200 million. Merger agreement. Amazon will pay iRobot $94 million and some form of termination fee. We've got, let's see here, restructuring will affect a reduction of 350 employees. Chairman of Board of Directors and CEO have stepped down. Amazon, disappointed, what is this? Disappointed that Amazon's acquisition of iRobot could not proceed. Termination agreement. Oh, interesting. So, Amazon's deal, okay, yeah. Amazon and iRobot have agreed to terminate their merger. CEO and head of the board stepping down, chairman of the board stepping down. Actions will result in a reduction of 350 employees. Got it. I see. Okay. Expects restructuring charges of 12 to 13 million. Interesting. Majority of those charges expected to occur in Q1. Oh, okay. I guess Amazon's not getting the robot biz. So let's see here. iRobot. iRobot stock now down about 19% on this news. It's all, yeah, look at the insider trading. Oh, come on. That's so obvious. It's so obvious. Look at the insider trading right here. From probably the moment it was realized that this merger was not going to go through, the stock literally halves. The stock halves. And now it's dropping another 22% after halving. Oh, man. That sucks. But, yeah, you can't tell me that's not insider trading. There's no way, dude. But it ain't rigged, folks. Anyway. So SoFi is relatively enthusiastic here. Let's find out why. SoFi. Okay. Oh, we had earnings. Oh, interesting. Net revenue, 594 versus the estimate of 573. We had adjusted EBITDA of 181 versus 139. We had Q1 forecast come in at 555. That is weaker than expected. How interesting. So your revenue and EBITDA beat for Q4, but they're forecasting weaker net revenue than expected. We're looking at net revenue Q1 of 555 versus the 580 expected. So if I go 555 divided by 580, I'm sitting down about 4.5% on guide. And that's it, eh? Yeah, and then their Q1 EBITDA is expected to be 115 versus the estimate of 128. That's about an 11% miss. Wow. So the stock is surging. That's so interesting. I gotta write this down so I can get this straight. So SoFi, we have a 4.5-ish% miss. There we go. That's a 4.5%-ish miss on Q1 revenue. And then about 10.5% miss on 2024 EBITDA. Let me double check these numbers here. Oh no, that's Q1 EBITDA. Forecast. Those are both the forecasts. So double checking those numbers really quick. We had on Q1 555 divided by 580.1. Yeah, that's about 4.5%, 4.4%. And then your 128.2 was the EBITDA. 128.2 is the EBITDA. 115 divided by that. That's about a 10.3% decline, miss on that. So you got two misses. The forecasts were a miss, but the Q4 beat. Q4 net revenue, that was actually a nice beat. 594 divided by 2, 573.2. That's a beat of about 3 point. I always like to think about it as percentages. 3.6% beat. Beat on, that would be Q4 net rev. And then the EBITDA, beat by a lot. That's a big beat. 181.2 divided by 139.9. How did they get a 29.5% beat on that? So 29.5% beat on Q4 EBITDA. Let's go find out. Let's see if there was some fancy one-time accounting on that. Okay, let's see. Go grab that really quickly. Let me listen also quickly to what they're saying here quickly.
DeFi, Bitcoin, these are all important applications. I view blockchains as an expansive technology. It's a new way to build internet services. Those services can be games, they can be social networks, they can be financial services. And so the financial part is important, but I think in a lot of ways it's been overplayed in the discussions. And so one of the things I try to do in my book is describe all of the different expansive use cases for the technology.
So Solana is one of those that actually has a big use case. It's like Ethereum.
Yeah.
A, I'm curious if you think that turns into its own ETF, but B, where you think it...
No, yeah, I think they all will. But let me get those SoFi numbers as well here in a moment.
For a long time, I think there's some discussion of the Ethereum ETF. I mean, I think this technology is inevitable. I think this is the future of the internet. So I think over time you will see greater and greater acceptance of ETFs and other kinds of financial instruments. So, but I think that will take time, and our focus is on investing in early stage entrepreneurs, and we see a lot of innovation.
ETF would never be something you'd look at. It's too far down the road.
For us, no, yeah, we're generally early stage investors, and so we're really looking. We're meeting with entrepreneurs. They have a lot of really interesting ideas. We think this is a really interesting new technology.
Yeah, all right. So they like Solana. Got it. Pump it. So let's get SoFi's earnings release. They're to get a 29% beat on EBITDA like that with a net revenue beat of 3.6%, something happened there. That's one time. That's odd to me. So I want to see what that is. Okay, we saw new member ads at 584,000. That's great. Record adjusted EBITDA. Why? Does they say why? All segments contributing. Bloody. Where did it come from? There must be something it came from. Total net rev. I mean, that's really nice growth there on net rev, 35%. Their net income, 47.9 mil. Well, that's not particularly... Well, let's see here. Q4 EBITDA 181. Okay. There it is. Adjusted EBITDA. Okay, these are the non-GAAP numbers. So what went into this? There's some funny math going on here. Okay, let me see if I can get their reconciliation. I think they added back all their stock comp bonuses for the end of the year. I think that's what they did. Stinkers. And then beat the estimate. Beat the estimate you set yourself, knuckleheads. Oh, that's funny. If that's the case. Let's see if I can find their reconciliation. Usually they're supposed to do a GAAP reconciliation in this. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay. Adjustments, it's net revs. That's fine. Where? EBITDA. Here we go. No. The stock-based expenses weren't particularly larger. About in line with last year, so I don't think it was that. Extinguishment of debt. No. Depreciation. I mean, this isn't that terribly different from last year. How did they miss it by so much, though? How did they miss their own estimate by so much? The estimate was 139, and they came in with 181. I mean, there's nothing really... I mean, restructuring charges. Okay. All right, so, yeah, we got 7.7 here from restructuring. We've got another 11 from depreciation. But again, like, these numbers aren't substantially different. No? I mean, I know our net income was obviously higher, but that was already expected. No, I don't think there's anything really weird here. Wow, good for them. Okay. So are they must have just lowballed the estimate or whatever, but I don't know how they screwed up the estimate that much, but good for them, I guess. And it could have been Wall Street as well. You know, who knows? It's just the Wall Street consensus, but it's usually shaped by what the company says. But this looks pretty good. I mean, just looking at the numbers here themselves, they're doing pretty well. Look at here. The place to look, in my opinion, is when we get to. Hold on. Get a little bit further here. Let's go right here. Here's a place to look. So look at this line right here. This loans interest income, complete explosion. I mean, that's a double. That's really nice. A double right here in loans. Really good. And then, wow, look at the deposits. Holy smokes. Wow. That's really nice. So this is probably what's really driving their interest income, is this massive explosion here in deposits. Let's see here. We have interest income, interest expense. I mean, what they're spending, basically what they're paying out to attract customers has exploded, right? Which means they're attracting substantially more capital. And you're seeing something very similar happen at Robinhood right now, where the company is making so much more money because they're basically able to arbitrage, right? I mean, what they're doing is they're depositing money at, you know, the Fed potentially earning 5.5%. And then what they do is, you know, they offer you 5 or 4.9 or whatever. Let me see what it is right now. SoFi. If I just go to SoFi.com, I'm sure they're pitching it. So go to SoFi.com. Okay. I thought it'd be a little easier to find out what they're pitching right now. It's not. So let's try banking. Oh my gosh, we need to confirm you're human. Bro. Oh my gosh. This is a waste. Okay. Let's try SoFi interest rate. How about that? 4.6? That's all they're paying right now? Oh, what knuckleheads. Oh, that's crazy. That's why they're making so much money. Oh, that's messed up. Oh, wow. That's where they're making the dollar hollers. Oh my gosh, everybody's getting arbed. That's funny. So that's where they're making the big money right now is the and you have to be careful of this for a lot of these businesses. Their numbers are exploding because they're attracting deposits to make it easy to give people, 4.5 or 5% or whatever, and they're earning 5.5 on their money. So that difference is profit basically. I think Wealthfront's at 5. Yeah, Wealthfront's at 5, and I think Robinhood's at 5, and then some money market funds are up there in the 5s as well. But that's very interesting. All right, well, good for them. 4.6, they're getting away with that. All right, well, more profit for the investors. I mean, and look at this. They're able to do all of this kind of growing with no change in marketing spend. Really good. Good job. I mean, of course, your costs of operations have gone up. Provision for credit losses has actually gone down. Wow. That's fantastic. Both of those are very, very good. So clearly the brand is working. The, marketing is becoming more effective, and their ARB is more effective. So across the board, makes sense why these numbers are, why the stock's going up. The concern I guess I have is a lot of that 29.5% beat is on adjusted EBITDA. And I throw that in here, which is always a little bit of a rigged number. It can be toyed with so much. Everybody does it, but All right. Now, so what else? Now, see what else is going on in the markets over here. So Ulta Beauty sitting, rising again. You've got Enphase basically flat at 105. Loser, it's a call option on interest rates basically coming down. Apple's down about 17 bips. Those headphones come this week. In buy now pay later plays, do they break down what consumers are using the feature for? Yeah. Probably, but I don't know. It would be very interesting. It would be very interesting. Let's see if we can find something on that. BNPL. We know usage of BNPL has been skyrocketing, but I guess it'd be interesting to see on what. 2 out of 5 American. Okay, so here's an exploding topics blog post on BNPL. Top 11 BNPL purchase categories. Clothing is like 70%. And then it goes down. Entertainment, reading material, household furnishings, groceries. These are all around 25%. Well, there you go. So that's an interesting chart. Let me see if I can pull it up for you. Okay, pop this up. Up. Stand by for the chart. There you go, Steve. I did it for you. 12% of consumers argue they use BNPL all of the time. Oh my lord. That's about equal to the never crowd. Wow. Crazy. Wonder if there's an age here. Oh yeah, user demographics. 62% male. Well, 62% of men have claimed they used it. 51% of women claim they've used it. And that's of the group. They're not supposed to add up. And then in terms of age group, 47% Gen Z, 14% baby boomers. Aha. How very interesting. Yeah, I agree. It would be very interesting to track this from earnings to earnings to see if grocery usage is going up. You know, the big issue that you have is now is I think we are walking into an unemployment disaster. You know, there's talk about this as well from the Fed, and this Fed meeting will be very interesting because we'll get some insight into basically what could be the Fed laying the groundwork for the March rate cut. So we'll see what we get. I mean, it's the markets right now are sitting at 50-50, but the Fed's going to drive that either direction. So we'll see what happens. Yields on the 10-year down about 5 basis points right now. Wow, the iRobot layoffs hit 31% of the staff. That's wild. Let's listen in here for a moment.
With the DOJ that this merger should not happen, blocking it. Now the question is whether or not JetBlue and Spirit appeal that decision. And on Friday, we had dueling 8Ks that were dropped by both airlines, starting first off with JetBlue saying that it was evaluating its merger options. Well, that probably spooked the people at Spirit a little bit more than they were caring to hear at that time. They put an 8K out saying that Spirit believes there is no basis for terminating the merger agreement. Spirit will continue to abide by all of the obligations under the merger agreement, and it expects JetBlue to do the same. Well, curious if JetBlue is going to see things that way. Remember, Spirit has 5.1% U.S. market share. Tomorrow, we get JetBlue's quarterly earnings. If there's a time where they say, look, we've renegotiated the deal, or we are out, we are done with this deal, that might be the time. Again, that's purely speculation. At this point, we know that this merger agreement continues, and they do plan to appeal, and they are going to appeal the decision to block this merger. One other airline note, take a look at shares of United. It came out over the weekend that United is in discussions with Airbus to see what it might be able to do in order to get A321s so that it could fill in some of the slots that it had planned for the Boeing 737 MAX 10. Remember, they told us last week, Scott Kirby told us, we're taking it off the schedule. We don't know when it's going to be certified. We can't plan our fleet over the next couple of years, not knowing when we might have a particular aircraft. So they're looking at the options with regard to Airbus. Remember, United took delivery of its first A321, and the A321 would be the counterpart to the 737 MAX 10. So the question becomes, what can they do with Airbus in order to potentially get some of those A321s that they need, guys, because otherwise they're going to be going forward with a fleet plan that is going to be smaller than what they originally had laid out when they thought they were going to have the MAX 10s starting later this year, early next year.
We had the CFO of Ryanair on earlier this morning, Phil,
Yep,
and it's a little rich, these guys saying what United says is silly, because these are the same guys who were calling for Dave Calhoun to be thrown out last year when they didn't have their jets that were going to be delivered on time. I think they're happier now because they've been moved up a little bit in the queue.
Sure.
Well, I will say, by the way, the plane issue is massive. Like, if you call Embraer right now and you're like, I'd like to order a new Phenom 300 or a Praetor 600, you're waiting about 2.5 years. And you have to pay, like, the market, basically. You'd have to go to the market and basically buy people's, like, Q4 delivery slots. It's absolutely insane. Like, yeah, if you want a new, if you want a new plane right now, good luck. Good luck. It's nuts. I can't believe that industry is so tight. Anyway. All right. What is moving bigly today? Let me know if you need a pilot. Hey, man, email us, jobs@meetkevin.com. There's iRobot. Are you Phenom rated? It costs like 30 grand. Actually, it's probably like 40 grand these days to type someone. It is what it is. So you've got, okay. So the downside iRobot, we've got SoFi. Ooh, Zim. Ooh, look at the Zim play. Ooh. This obviously on the back of what's going on in Iran. Oh, yeah. Again, weakness apparently here by the United States. At least that's how it appears. And as the issue continues to get worse, Zim continues to do well here. Let's take a peek at this. Look how well they've done. Yeah, look at that. From 639, this whole crisis has just kept them going. Yeah, Peter Schiff interview will probably come out within the next few days. Oh, thanks, man. That's nice of you to say. Yeah, the Evergrande liquidation, we'll touch on that a little later in the day, but very incredible. Okay, what else? So then Ethereum sitting at 22 as their spot ETF gets delayed. Yeah, they might end up seeing less of a run-up given the sell-off that BTC had after their ETF approval. Let's see here. Most of the market's pretty benign right now, it appears. A lot of in-the-middleness. Okay, next data sets that we're looking for. Tomorrow we'll get the CoreLogic 20 City S&P home prices data. Ooh, we'll also get JOLTS tomorrow. That's interesting. I'm gonna write that one down. So JOLTS January 30th. Forecast is 8709K. And then the prior on JOLTS was 8790. 8790K prior. That'll come out at 7 a.m. PT Jan 30. Interesting. And then obviously we have the Fed meeting. Fed January 31st. Keep rates flat. Cool. Next. Then we have, after that, after the Fed meeting, where we're expecting to have rates flat, we're looking for, obviously, guidance from the Fed, but then we'll get some manufacturing data on the 1st. On the 2nd, we'll get University of Michigan, as well as, oh, wow, big week, non-farm payrolls. Usually when it's this close to the month starting, like the data has to come out on the 1st or 2nd, they usually kick it back a week. Nope, not now. They're going to come out with payroll numbers on this Friday. We're looking for 180 versus the 216 we got last time, with an unemployment rate ticking up slightly to 3.8%. Average hourly earnings expected to be 0.3. Juicy. All right, let's listen in here.
A little bit more hawkish and realign some of the expectations for interest rates this year, where there's just way too much optimism on multiple interest rate cuts this year, and we just don't see that on the horizon.
Oh.
Okay, so that means the Fed will have to do what on Wednesday? If you have to acknowledge the data, and the data shows that inflation has come down pretty sharply, how do you do that and not signal to the market game on in terms of rate cuts come March?
Right. Because I just don't see, yes, inflation has come down. It's improving quite a bit. It's coming in the right direction. It's getting towards that 2% target, but we're not at that 2% target yet. There still is room to go here, that they have to get inflation down. And the biggest concern that we see is that they could reignite inflation by getting too dovish and not realigning and setting expectations for what the rate cuts will be.
We've seen a pretty incredible continuation of the rally in January. It didn't stop after the Santa Claus rally, and there were a lot of people who thought maybe it would. Does this make you nervous at this point, especially if you think the Fed is not going to be able to cut rates as quickly as the market's anticipating?
Yeah, we think, again, January seasonally can still be a good month. It's up about 60% of the time, on average about 1%. So it's not significantly surprising, especially given the fact that there's been so much optimism about the economy and optimism about the Fed's going to come in and cut interest rates as quickly as March. We are concerned. We think that valuations are a little heavy here. We would be looking at some of the areas of the market, the large cap area, especially the growth side. Make sure that you're not overweight in portfolios, balanced portfolios, because it has run so far and so fast. And we do think it's at risk of some sort of a consolidation here.
Megan, thank you very much for joining us today.
By the way, speaking of the economic optimism, one of the reasons there seems to be such optimism right now is this Fed GDP estimate, the Atlanta Fed GDP estimate for Q1. This is the first estimate we've gotten of Q1 from them. And look at this, crazy. It's sitting at what is this? What are they at here? 3.3. There it is, 3%. 3% on January 26th. Fourth quarter was estimated at 3.3, and now it's showing 3% as the estimate. You can see that right here relative to the stock market blue chip consensus of just about 1%. So keep in mind that the Atlanta Fed GDP index was correct for the prior reads. Remember when we had in Q3 these crazy reads where people were like, how's it going to be a 5% GDP quarter in Q3? And it was. Yep. All right. What else?
What a weekend of football, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're not ESPN, but I think that these games are like what we do. I mean, you see these teams, and they are companies, and you see the Kansas City Chiefs. And look, they're whatever you call them. You call them Alphabet, you call them Amazon, and then you see companies that fold in the second half, and that's, maybe the Lions are Tesla. I mean, Wade Goff. I was waiting for something to happen, except for their forecast.
By the way, I just have to run a poll. I want to see where people's heads are on this, and it has to do with what we're looking at here. So let's see how jaded everybody is. Okay, so get your polling fingers ready. Okay, here we go. Let's see here. Let us do that. Okay, start poll. Here we go. Did the NFL rig the Super Bowl? Yes, no. Okay, that's it. That's it. Just asking. Go decide. Let me know. Okay. This is going to be entertaining. Okay, what else? NYSE president sees more IPOs coming with market volatility. Yeah, I believe that. U.S. must strike back at Iran. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. FOMC to talk conditions for rate cut. Yeah, well, of course. Amazon drops $1.4 billion iRobot deal after EU veto threat. Oh, it's the EU. This was SoFi's first ever profit. Really? Oh, we touched on that. We touched on the actual earnings. First time profitable. First quarter, I guess I should say. First quarter profitable. 48 million net income. Wow. "2024 will be a transition year. We're not planning to grow our lending business at all. We just don't need to grow the assets as fast in that business." That's interesting. Refinance risk or what? And then they're opening up mutual fund investment. Okay, fine. That's very interesting. All right, so let's see what some of these initial polls are. Ooh, wow. Pretty tight here. 57% yes, 43% no so far. Very interesting. Okay.
There are a lot of Eli Lillys out there. Turns out to be the only one that's out there. So I think we should own it. I think we should attack the people who come on, the money managers, and say it's a broad rally, because it's the opposite. I mean, attack is probably the wrong way. Say that their views misguided.
Oh, look, they dumped Tesla from the Super Six-Pack. Jim.
Industrials are beating by 10, industrials by 7, even with all the DuPont and the 3M guidance. BofA's point this morning is that no one aggressively guides higher in January. There's no upside.
When you talk to the CEOs, I talk to most of these CEOs, the big guys, offline, and they always say, "Why should I? Why should I take my numbers up at the beginning of the year and then cut?" So those who are still back, these are underperformance, under promise over deliver numbers, that's UPOD.
Yeah.
But I look at the industrials, and I think that the industrials are a question of Are the inventories down enough? They weren't for DuPont. They were for Dow. Dow didn't get enough credit. I thought Dow was good. You can go back and forth. The reason why the semiconductors have worked is because finally a destocking. AMD's parabolic move. That's a destocking. But they also have something besides what Intel has. Intel, AMD.
Ooh, Max, that's interesting. I want to see this about Ryanair. Okay, let me see what they say. Ryanair, let's see here. Risk that Boeing deliveries could slip further. 50 737 deliveries by summer. Still sees customers at about 183.5 million. The estimate was 183.7, slightly less than expected. Well hedged for the coming fiscal year. Reasonably confident in Boeing deliveries. Capacity constraints lifting summer prices. Interesting. Capacity constraints pushing up prices in the summer. But they're also trimming their guidance. So where's this talk about them lowering prices to induce demand? It's interesting. The mainstream media only wants to show you the up part. Ryanair prices. We will find out. News. I will keep looking. Prices. While traffic and fares ahead of prior year, and yields were softer than previously expected as Ryanair lowered prices in response to a sudden but welcomed removal from certain online travel agent websites. Okay, it's a little confusing. Okay, well, I'll have to read the report a little later. I'll do that. All right, let's keep listening here for a moment.
Shrink the ice cream from 16 to 14 ounces. They charge more. Costco's rebelling against that. I think Walmart will too. But that's the fight is about can you.
Somebody here is asking if we'd consider remote. Unfortunately, not. It's gotta be in person, man. It's gotta be in person. We gotta we're expanding. We're hiring. We're actually probably looking for some editing and videography help, or like an editing intern. Don't need much experience for that. Can always email jobs@meetkevin.com. We gotta actually do like an official posting or something like that, but not there yet. Okay, let me end this poll and see what we have. 58% say yes. Okay, I'm gonna end it now. 68% say yes. 42% say no. Wow, really interesting. Data analyst. You can be whatever you want. Send an email. Okay, good. So, yeah, we're actually looking into this commercial space as an office too, which is kind of exciting. It's like it's a change. It's new. It's growth. It's exciting. All right, next. So let's see what the suits are saying this morning. Haven't been looking at what the suits are saying yet. And then we should also look at the 5-year break. Break evens, 2.29%. A little elevated right now. We've kind of been straight up since about early December. Okay, good. So now, what are the suits saying? The Fed is widely expected to keep rates unchanged. Earnings will matter more for stocks. Okay. Who do we have this week? Let's find out. Ryanair reported this morning. I'll have to look at their earnings call. Okay, what else? Tomorrow, we get, Microsoft and Google and AMD tomorrow. Oh, nice. Oh, those are going to be big. Starbucks tomorrow. Let's see how much they're getting hit from China. Oof. GM tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be juiced. Wednesday, which is Fed Day, we'll have MasterCard, Qualcomm, Boeing. Then Thursday, we'll have Apple, Amazon, Facebook. Oh, my lordus. And then on Friday, we'll actually get the release of the 3D, the virtual reality headset from Apple. So that'll be kind of cool. Somebody says Black Swan tomorrow. Aw. Yes, Starbucks is an interesting, I think, proxy play on China because they spent all of COVID basically doubling the amount of stores that they have in China. What do I think about mall REITs moving forward? Well, I mean, I think, unless malls really, which is going to be extremely expensive, adapt and become entertainment meccas, the future of the mall is, I think, substantially at risk. So, I look at like a Simon Property Group. And to me, even though they got a 5% yield, I see that as holding a depreciating bag, right? Like the underlying assets either become more expensive or like in terms of to upgrade, so the company has to spend more money, or the assets just become worth less. So both the opposite of really what you want. Yeah, we might do another accredited house hack round next month, which is actually wow, we're already almost in February. Yeah, and then stock certs for the last will be done this quarter as well. Yeah. Do you think AMD has been overcrowded? Ooh, it's a good question. The thing is, even Elon indicated like they don't really care who's making the AI chips. They just want the AI chips. What's so difficult about this AI quote unquote fad is the AI bears believe that consumers need to care about AI, which is wrong. Who needs to care about AI are the big boys, the Apples, the Googles, the Facebook, Tesla, whatever. And they got all the money. They've got all the cash. So that cash deploys to making their business more efficient by getting their hands on chips that are in a massive shortage. So you're seeing massive inflation in AI chip prices because everybody wants them. They don't want to be left behind. So yeah, it's very difficult to say, oh, go short because it's gone up for the AI stocks, mostly because they're just being propped up by people with essentially endless cash. So that's a toughie. SoFi, by the way, looks like it's getting rejected at about 880, which is a resistance level. Yeah. Look at that. It just fell through. Oops. All right, what else? Tech needs stellar earnings to justify valuations. Yeah, I mean, to say some of the tech stocks have so now the ones I think are a little bit more overpriced personally. Think like, and I know a lot of people here like Microsoft, but I'm just saying, like, I think some of these valuations are nutty on the MSFT. But there's also a safety play in this, right? In Facebook, in Microsoft, in Google, it's so easy to allocate to because they're essentially deemed safer plays, and they are, so no matter we go into soft landing or recession or otherwise, and they are, quite frankly, a huge component of the NASDAQ. So if you want to, slightly beat the indexes, you just basically buy the stocks that make up the index. So 25-30% is your Magnificent Six. And you make slight adjustments around that, and then you just play the whole benchmark comparison game and try to outperform. What else? How are oil prices doing, by the way? And I also wonder, how the fallout will end up looking for the liquidation at Evergrande. We'll talk about that a little later, but it's very interesting, right? So Intel was never part of the AI race. Intel is part of the manufacturing race. That's why I got into Intel at, whatever, 30, 32 bucks or whatever it was. Intel to me is a value play on manufacturing and taking government stimulus money. They're not really an Intel play at this point. They're an AI play at this point. And they were never argued to be, at least here on this channel. Kevin, you should get a Nike swoosh shaved into your hair. We've had a pretty interesting Nike swoosh, I will tell you that, for the indices. It's been remarkable. And this is the same thing we saw in 1982. And remember, folks, the Nike swoosh, this is just the beginning. Like, I think it's going way up over the next, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, whatever. And it's getting, a lot of people are going to be pissed off and be like, damn, got left behind. Oh, it's my cake. Wow. Interesting fact about AI. Where'd you hear that, Steve? The energy it takes AI to create one image is the same as charging your phone, one cycle. Oh, that's wild. I mean, certainly the cost to generate will come down, but yeah, wow. I mean, it's just like, as with anything, you could really have infinite demand for energy, just like you have infinite demand potentially for, let's say, trash or whatever. And what happens is the price of throwing your stuff away or the price of energy just goes up, and then that puts a limit on demand. So the market's really good at supplying you what you need. It's just when the government comes in and screws it up that you usually end up having problems. Okay, what else?
Internal issue, which is that the issues with Evergrande could potentially spill over, and it's already affecting sentiment of home buyers. So they want to make sure that they keep things stable over here.
But Eunice, we know that if you're going to have, say, a 1990 restructuring as we did in this country, you've got to get rid of these zombie companies. Why would the PRC not use this as a way to be able to get at the developers? Because as long as you have zombie developers, you'll have no ability to be able to clear the decks here.
Right, and that's a big question. There have been plenty of theories. One is jobs, for example, getting worried that people would be laid off. But one of the issues that the creditor had brought up as well, that could be a problem as well, and bankers told me this as well, is that even if the foreign creditors were able to get their hands on these assets, let's say the Chinese court said that they will cooperate with the Hong Kong courts, that these creditors will be way back in line in China, that you would have, of course, like local governments, you would have the banks, there would be other people who would be ahead of you. But here, one thing that's special in China is that you would have also the suppliers and then the home buyers, because the way that home buyers purchase their apartments is they usually put a prepayment down. So there's just a lot of other people in front of you, which really begs the question as to how much movement forward these creditors have really made, and it's a really big question mark there.
It's remarkable, Eunice, between the property, the unemployment issues, and certainly losses in the capital markets there, where consumers are finding relief. Very, very slim pickings. Eunice Yoon in Beijing today covering China for us. When we come back, we'll get Kramer's Mad Dash. We'll count down to the opening bell, take another look here at the pre-market. It's a busy session at the exchange. Gronk has entered the building, Jim, with a big fanfare a moment ago. We'll pay some attention to Flutter as they do this dual listing here at the NYSE. Back in a minute.
All right, so this is an interesting one. Posts about the men's underwear index detecting the beginning of a recovery during a slump. Fascinating. I guess we'd have to find a way to measure the price of these, and I guess that's why you're suggesting use Hanes as well. The problem with using Hanes is it's a stock, and stock goes up when generally the entire market goes up. I'm guessing it's gone up. I'm just gonna look. Hanes brands. Oh, it's down. Interesting. Weird. How interesting. Yeah, you'd have to look at that. Look at that. That is very interesting. I haven't looked into this before. So this sucker's been, boy, you've been flat on Hanes for a year almost. 8, 9 months. More. Yeah, this is about 9 to 10 months of flat. That is very interesting. Yeah, I don't know. You really have to kind of study this one a little more to try to make a very quick analysis on oh, what's going on with consumer discretionary spending? Yeah. Interesting. I see your comments. But, no. Somebody here on Twitch says, Kevin never reads the Twitch chat. Huh. That's unfortunate. Individual chatting on Twitch. So, all right. I don't think the market's really moved much here in the morning. How interesting. I mean, SoFi, we know, is still at 15%. Tesla's still at 1%. Qs are literally still at 11 basis points. Nothing's moved. iRobot, we know, is down on the terminated Amazon acquisition. And we know there was some insider trading that happened in the last 2 weeks before that. But, I mean, of course, no, there's no such thing as insider trading. Yeah, okay. Coinbase up 124, Ethereum sitting 2250, and BTC 42. Very cool. Next. Next up, we have, so we've talked about a lot of different things here, but this is interesting. Some people are now speculating that you've basically had this like defund Donald Trump movement where, like, you know, if he potentially loses both of these verdicts, like the one he did for $83.3 million on defamation, and then the New York civil fraud trial, which is looking for $370 million, that would rob $450 million from the war chest. And some people are now calling that the effort to defund Trump. Others are calling it justice. Oh, that's for everybody themselves to decide. But yeah, pretty wild. $450 million. Jeez, Lord. 10-year yield might shift on Fed. Ooh, what do we got over here? Yeah, the 10-year, the fact that we ended and started the year at 3.8 and now it's at 4.10 is pretty wild. Federal Reserve announcements on monetary policy have the potential to move the 10-year this week. Well, duh. The 10-year Treasury yield appears bound between 4.07 and 4.25 before this week's Fed announcement. Right, and then it could be basically, they're saying it could be pushed in either direction based on what the Fed does this week and what kind of stage they set for us this week. Well, duh.
School, I did a lot of studying. I studied. I mean, one of the things I did was study. I thought that when you're the head of the FTC, you would do more than study. But you know what? She's a studier. She's a student.
Your point about these guys, though, they do say management is caught between scaling DTC
Yes.
and deleveraging through the licensing deals that we saw just the other week.
Right, and it just suddenly becomes a really complicated story. Look, we work for Comcast. Comcast is a pretty clean story. People want broadband. They obviously are pure content, and I don't know if this can hold. This is going to be a very rough story if the Wells Fargo scenario plays out.
Yeah.
Stephen Cahill really put the kibosh. on the
Moving
story.
from deleveraging multiple expansion to lower EBITDA and
Right.
static multiple.
So this goes from being one of the possible great performers for the year, springboard, to make it sound like it's going to go to 8.7, and you got to be really careful. And it was a brutal downgrade. It was the first thing I saw this morning, and I said, ouch, this is bad. I don't know if I want to go to the Knicks and sit in courtside.
Yeah, they're not alone in that boat.
No, they're not.
It's in sharp contrast.
Media's just been terrible, Carl.
Sharp contrast to the Netflix print the other day.
Yeah.
Opening bell in a few minutes. As we said, Rob Gronkowski's going to join us at post 9. Don't go anywhere.
Okay, 6 minutes to the bell. Okay, next. Okay, so what else for this? So next up we have, we talked SoFi, Apple, we talked Super Bowl briefly. You know, the Atlanta Fed GDP read, 3%. It's so wild. I do wonder, I mean, it's so hard to say, oh, it's, you know, gotta be wrong, because it was so right last time. Remember, GDP came in at like, and they were putting GDP at like 4.9 to 5.3%. And everybody's like, there's no way, that's crazy. Those are crazy numbers for Q3, right? And then they were right. Again, maybe it's all part of the big game of the data getting rigged. All possible. But in that case, if they're all rigging it together, still 3%. It's just wild right now to see an estimate this high. The initial GDP model for the first quarter of 2024 is 3%. 3.3% for the last. And the next estimate will come out Thursday. Wild. And the other thing to consider is how PCE inflation has only been like 1.9% over the last 6 months, annualized out. Crazy. Crazy low. All right. Car for Coin says, hopefully coin has bottomed out. All right. So, this morning we had Ryanair earnings. Not much else, though. That was the big one this morning. Ryanair and Fed meeting Wednesday. We know we have a lot of earnings this week, including Google and Microsoft and Apple, so this will be very fun. Ryanair CEO. No anxiety from customers about flying on the 737 MAX. Yeah, that's some bullcrap. I don't believe that whatsoever. Trying to appease the investors as to why they're buying the 737. Oh, yeah, I'm not hearing anything. Yeah, well, you're also probably not a flight attendant who does have to deal with it all the time. You had to do undercover boss. Be a flight attendant for a day, and then see how many 737 MAX complaints you get. Yeah, get your butt on the 737 MAX. You sit next to the door plug. Oh, that's bad. I wonder if you could tell where the door plug is. You probably can't. Well, I guess you can from the outside. But if you're on the inside, can you tell where the door plug is so you know not to sit next to it? That would be very interesting. Yeah. All right, next. So, Bell in 2 minutes.
It seems strange, but...
So you don't think it alters the conversation about regulatory approval here on other deals?
No, I think that it depends on whether Justice has it. Justice is a little more savvy than the FTC, which is a little more naive. Look, the guy who runs Justice is a heavy hitter, Paul Weiss' partner. The person who runs the FTC is a great student.
As you said earlier.
Even professed to be a studying. She's a student.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lena Khan was on Squawk this morning, sort of out.
Wow, they are cheering early. You got like 90 seconds to go and they're already cheering.
Their look into AI-related.
Right. Well, look, I don't think there's anything wrong with making sure there's guardrails. I think Jensen Huang from NVIDIA would say that. I do think that the difference, when you have someone like Lena Khan at the FTC, you should be thinking also about the way that the president decided, you know what, we're going to pause, Jeffrey Granholm, we're going to pause on new nat gas. This is the agencies where he really has a lot of power. The agencies is exerting an ideological, really thrust that I think a lot of Americans are like, wow, okay,
But do you not have questions about Microsoft OpenAI and what the relationship is there?
I think that they are all going to try to bring down price for us, just like they did with Amazon Web Services. I care about price. I think Azure, Amazon Web Services, they have cut the price. I think the average citizen is going to be able to get AI because of the competition. And where she's wrong is she doesn't really understand business. She understands textbooks. This is a...
Look at that perfect movement, by the way, on ASML on the Fibonacci's. Perfect movement.
Copilot that I think is killer, and they're going to keep the price down unless someone else come in. Price is what America wants.
Yeah. Let's get the opening bell here in the CNBC real-time exchange. On the big board, it is sports betting company Flutter Entertainment. celebrating its dual listing. Rob Gronkowski is going to join us in a few minutes. CEO Peter Jackson will join us in the next hour. At the NASDAQ, it's Bottomless Closet, a women's job empowerment nonprofit. Jim, to your point about AI and Microsoft, our Copilot sign-up's going to be one of the
That's interesting. It's like, it seems like only 35% green here, so I feel like you might be getting some red going into the Fed meeting, which is not a surprise. Like, who wants to buy right before the Fed meeting? I mean, there's always that excuse. But then again, you know, if you end up getting the signals for a rate cut, you know, you'd want to buy right before, but who knows? SoFi trying to push under its 880 there for a moment. You've got iRobot kind of flat. Q's just gave up about 2 or 3 points, maybe even a little bit more. Getting a little bit more of a red candle here. Coinbase trying to move up. Coinbase ticking up right here. Tesla trying to go green or stay green, go more green. Intel a little bit. ServiceNow. Oh boy, they've done well. Look at ServiceNow here. Zoom out on ServiceNow. This company has gone from, what, 337 at the end of 2022? That's a double right there. Very nice, ServiceNow. So then you've got, let's look at the larger movers. Yeah, there's SoFi at the 15, Zim's on the 11, on the geopolitical disaster in the Middle East. Still waiting to see what ends up happening in Iran. Talk about some airstrikes in the region, potentially more coming, who knows. Palantir's up about 1% there, along with Trade Desk, 60 basis points. Tesla bobbing around the 1-1. iRobot still down 17. SunPower's down 2. Looks like you got solar selling down. We've got Canadian Solar's down 3. Enphase down 1.4. Bitcoin down about $120 there since earlier, getting rejected again by about 42. Q's holding on to the 10 bips. That's basically where we sat in the pre-market. And there's Tesla at 1. Okay, let's listen here if they got anything interesting.
Ticker FLUT. We'll keep an eye on that.
Look, I really think that the gambling side, I think that Jason Robbins at DraftKings is doing a remarkable job. And people who don't go... All
right, whatever. Well, remember, if you haven't seen the video yet on the Fed, I posted it this morning. I said, yikes, Fed quickly sees, or Fed sees things going south quickly. Really good video. Make sure you watch that. And it's really important to understand what's going on, because if you're looking to, understand or hunt for what to look for this Wednesday, that'll give you that heads up. So, okay, good. Then we've got, let's look at the 5-year break, and then I want to look at the inverted yield curve just to see if they're moving at all. It doesn't look like too much. You've got 10-year down 5.5. You've got the 2-year down 2.8. Oh, okay, interesting. 10-year down more than the 2 again, so there goes more inversion. Yep, 5-year break even is at 2.3%. If we go to the 5-year forward, we haven't shouted that one out in a minute. Yeah, that one's up at 2.37. And then the 10-2 inversion, the big bear signal, the big scary bear feeling or signal is down at negative 23 basis points right now. 23. Wild. Somebody says Costco is nearly at $700. Ooh. Oh, yeah. Well, it's at 690. It's up about 46 bips. NASDAQ's going a little more positive than where it was pre-market. There you go. Trying to green candlestick. Yeah, Tesla up 1.2. NVIDIA up another 32 basis points. Enphase down 7.5. Okay.
Be a lot of layoffs. So far, there hasn't. It's made people more productive. I wish the banks had talked more about AI. They did.
Oh, don't worry. You don't have to split Costco. It'll have in value.
But other tech companies really do talk about it.
Yeah. As for layoffs, they're anecdotally, again, Lockheed's a good example today, 1%. We try to track them as closely as we can. Jim, over the weekend, Goldman, Jan Hatzius, sticking by their call for a March cut, and one of the lines in the report was that the labor market may start to issue clues as to why you would want to cut sooner rather than later.
Well, look, the untold story, I was trying to figure out from all the different websites how many immigrants there are and whether people are going to look the other way on the green card issue. Or this is very tricky.
You can find out why I think Costco is overvalued by going to ehack.com and then just press Command F Costco. Boom, you'll have your answer.
We're going to put a little wages. Now, we could ask the labor secretary, and they will just, it's way too third rail. But we have had a lot of immigrants come in, and I think that unfortunately, I hope they get the minimum wage, but I think unfortunately there's a lot of companies that pay less than you'd think, and jobs are full.
Well, how about this piece about banker pay, bonuses? Down again, and it stings this time, says the Journal. Flat is the new up.
And you got to be really careful when you say stings, because they make so much more than everybody else. But yeah, I read the piece. I understand. And rents have been down now for 6 straight months. Yep. There's a lot of things that, like Timber said from the Journal, a lot of things go in the Fed's way, but not enough yet. We still have disinflation, no genuine deflation other than a Costco.
Yeah, core goods. There's
Yep, exactly. Other than a Costco. That's right. That is true. They are. They made it very clear as executives that they will cut prices to drive membership, and you'll see more of that.
They're not getting the business they used to. I don't know.
I got 3 downgrades at Norfolk, by the way.
Oh my!
Today.
Jeez, the long knives were out for Norfolk. I thought that was way too negative. I just don't think that it's really as dangerous as people think. I like the transports too.
Did you know they shut down SGIM? SGIM was the short Jim Cramer ETF, and it only attracted like 2.4 million in assets since it launched in March of 2023. And the stock was down about 15%, betting against Jim. And Long Jim also closed. So both of them, SGIM and Long Jim. Long Jim ended up attracting about $3.4 million in capital. And that didn't do well either, so they shut that down. They basically shut down both of the Jim Cramer ETFs. Those weren't put on by Jim Cramer. They were put on by Tuttle Capital Management. They were kind of trying to meme it and get some virality to them, but didn't end up working out. It's really hard to make an ETF work out with how expensive it is to make an ETF today. It's way too expensive. There's such a great utility because you can basically trade stocks like you can 1031 real estate, but they're just so expensive. It's cost prohibitive today. So that's why you see ETFs shut down when they don't attract enough capital. Fortunately, ours is positive, so that's good. Anyway, okay, good. So let's see if the special suits have anything. MLaw. Okay, China property junk outperforms even as Evergrande blows up. Well, that's crazy. The bets, because people want these high yields. And are pricing in Chinese bailouts. It's so wild. Get earnings this week. We already know that. Oil isn't moving. Yeah, oil's got like such weak strength. We keep getting production cuts, and yet oil not really going anywhere. Although I will say Brent is over 80. It's at about $83 right now. It feels like it's just been so tightly range bound.
I mean, look, you have to understand, this is sleep apnea. It's a duopoly between Phillips and ResMed. And Mick Farrell has got great numbers to begin with. The stock was down, RMD, because the GLP, even though he said the people who take GLP-1 are using it in conjunction to ResMed. So go buy ResMed. Its numbers are way too low.
And you got this decision on Bayer, $2.2 billion, this Philadelphia court. It's the biggest penalty yet.
Bayer bought a company that could sink Bayer. Monsanto was just, it's the gift that never stops giving you downside surprises. Terrible buy.
Yeah. Pentagon indicating they don't want a wider war in the Middle East. Good. However, a lot of people are pushing Biden to strike back harder after the attack that killed 3 American service members. I think we got 12 in critical now, and maybe another 16 or so injured. But Iran now saying that there was some error in reporting that Israeli warplanes had maybe struck an advisory center in Syria. Now they're retracting that. So a lot of unclear decision-making in news. We've got, let's see here. Morgan Stanley just raised the price target on AMD to 193. Ah, they got earnings this week. That'll be neat. Let's see here. Elizabeth Warren says, rate hikes have put housing out of reach for many. I agree. The problem really is, how do you possibly get started with rates like this? You just can't. So you have to wait for rates to come down. But then when rates are lower, you either don't have a job or there's so much competition. It's also going to be hard then. I don't know. Oh, well. All right. So, anything else, Jimbo?
Now, I know that, look, there's an issue here. There's always going to be an issue. Are there problems? Who will pay for it? All I can tell you is that when you have a product that you can't make enough of, you're going to be able to make a lot of money.
Yeah. They do say Zepbound's likely to be the best-selling drug of all time.
Zepbound will be the best-selling drug of all time. Maybe you put all the cholesterol drugs together, maybe it doesn't, but no, Zepbound is going to be the number one drug of all time. And I've been saying blood pressure is unbelievable. Too much drinking, you take that, they'll never get that passed. They'll never do a study on that. But this thing is just, it's not a found.
All right, let's look at some of the sticks here. 2 quick reminders. Number one, if you haven't seen the picture of me with Kathy for the birthday brunch yesterday that I had, check it out. It's on X, pretty cool. Also, we've got the some updates on ehack.com. You're welcome to check those out. And then make sure you do watch the Fed video on the imminent or how things could go south quickly video on the main channel. It's on the Meet Kevin main channel. It's pretty important. I'm going to go to the course member live stream here after we look at some more of the sticks. Even though I'm a licensed financial advisor, real estate broker, and becoming a stockbroker, this video is neither personalized financial advice nor real estate advice for you. It is not tax, legal, or otherwise personalized advice tailored to you. This video provides generalized perspective, information, and commentary. Any third-party content I show should not be deemed endorsed by me. This video is not and shall never be deemed reasonably sufficient information for the purpose of evaluating a security or investment decision. Any links or promoted products are either paid affiliations or products or services which we may benefit from. I personally operate and actively manage ETF and hold long positions in various securities, potentially including those mentioned in this video. However, I have no relationship to any issuers other than HouseHack, nor am I presently acting as a market maker. Wow, NVIDIA just like straight up on the day here. It was such a wild one. It's kind of cool. Yeah. So, anyway. Yeah, somebody's asking, where's the Costco stuff? Well, if you go to ehack.com, go to December 15th. You just have to type Command F Costco and then go down like 7 hits to December 15th. Cool. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.